Welcome back, everybody, to the newest episode of PenPodcast.com. I'm your host, Matthew Harms, founder of Pen for Hire, where we offer premier ghostwriting and author coaching services. Also, the creators of the Pen Podcast, where we sit with authors, writers, writing industry professionals, subject matter experts, and all around interesting people. And today I have the pleasure of being joined by author Kurt Schmidt. How are you today, Kurt?
Good. Thank you so much for having me, Matt. I appreciate it.
It is my pleasure. Authors are always my type of people, but any author who wrote a book on networking, definitely somebody that I think a lot of authors can learn from.
Yeah, it's been a journey, I'll tell you. I mean, networking has been, I haven't gotten a job from a resume in 25 years, and it's mainly because of networking and how I was taught to network, mainly from my father, who was a minister. So I'm a preacher's kid, and he taught me the power of connecting with people, and so I took that, and it seemed to become perfectly natural to me. But I noticed it really didn't to other people, and so for years I tried to coach people on it, and then after the pandemic happened, I noticed that such a difference has happened in networking thanks to the pandemic. About some people don't leave their houses anymore. Some people are excited to leave their houses. It's such a mix. And so there's digital networking, there's in-person networking. So I wanted to write a handbook sort of on how I would approach networking post-pandemic. And I wanted to make it a nice quick read that people would actually read. So I dumped all that info in there, and here I am.
I love it. Let me back up a quick second. Where are you joining us from? Like, where in the world
I'm
are you?
Minneapolis, Minnesota, right in the Midwest.
Very nice.
Yeah.
What made you decide to write this book?
Yeah. So, like I mentioned, during the pandemic, I noticed, especially at the beginning of it, we saw a lot of layoffs happening, right? And I saw a lot of people going on to LinkedIn and saying, hey, I need some help. I'm looking for stuff. I would contact people and say, hey, if you want me to look at your resume, or if you want me to connect you with people, I'm more than happy to help. And what I noticed, Matt, was over time, a lot of the advice I was given was the same advice, which was, your network sucks. Like, it's just, you don't know enough people. They used to say about 70% of your job comes from people I think it's closer to 80, 90% now, especially because of social media, because of how much we need to trust people, right? We've had a lot of political divide in our company, in our country over the last number of years. So there's a lot of mistrust out there. And so people want to meet people. They want to know who you are. And then from there, they will, they'll jump on board and, hire you. So it's not as easy as just throwing your resume in blindly anymore. You really need to know people. And so I was giving that advice over and over again. And then I turned that advice into sort of a one-pager that I would send people. And then I turned that into a multi-page PDF. And then eventually that advice, as I was giving out that advice and learning from people on what their challenges were, that kept growing until I was finally like, I should just make this a book. And so I did.
So I love so many things that you said there, because I'm just thinking back to my own life and journey. And, there might be maybe 2 or 3 jobs that I gotten in my entire life that came from a resume. Yeah. And even in Pen for Hire, we have a lot of channels that we attract business through, but the networking type of introductions always shortest time to, getting a new client, least expensive cost of acquiring a new client, versus all of the other marketing outreach and whatnot that you could be trying to do with no results.
I love that you brought that up, Matt, because one of the surprising things for me is when the book launched, which was about a month ago now, or a month and a half ago, or January 10th. Yeah. So I guess a month ago. So, I had a number of sales leaders that I know that bought them for their team, bought the books for their team. And I didn't write it specifically for sales. But a lot of the techniques and things that I talk about in the ways to connect with people and try to provide value really resonated with some of these folks. So yeah, exactly to to your point, because that's what's worked for my business, right? For the last 7 years that we've been in business. And so at my company, Foundry, we do custom user experience design and application development. So everything from mobile apps to B2B applications, everything custom. And the majority of that business was referral based, right? And based on networking. So just exactly to your point, Matt. And that's where I find, not only do you find work there, but you find the best work there. Do you know what I mean? Like the people who have money, pay on time, are
pleasure to work with.
Yes, it's generally a pleasure to work with for the most part. You find a better class of clientele through that networking. So yeah, I didn't, like I said, my friend said maybe you should make it like a for dummies thing, like the little book of networking for sales and the little book of networking for recruiting. But I definitely think salespeople or business owners would get value out of this book as well, even if they're not looking for a job. So.
Well, and I think, networking in general encompasses kind of all those things, right? Because in life, everything's a sale, whether you think it is or not.
Sure.
If you and I are going to decide where to go to lunch, one of us is going to sell the other one on where we want to eat.
Right. Yeah, it's the same with my wife and I deciding on which movie to watch, right?
Someone's closing somebody.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yep. Exactly. Well, that's to that point, Matt. That's the thing with what I talk about in the book is that this isn't about this is about delivering value and finding ways to deliver value to people. The longer and more you can sustain delivering value to people over time, when the time comes for you to have an ask, right? Which is, oh no, I just got laid off, or something. When you've got that time, you've built up a lot in that networking bank of yours by providing that value over time, that the ask comes across not even as an ask, it comes across as something these people are going to trip over themselves to help you do because of all the value you've created over the years. And I don't mean this sort of everyday influencer type of value. I mean just being a good steward and being a good professional colleague, because I have so many people say, well, I've got so many friends, I don't need to build up my network. I'm like, this is not about friendships, right? This is what I like to call micro partnerships, right? How can I help you? How can you help me? And we do it in a pleasant and fun way, right? We're not selling each other. But like JFK said, right? Like a rising tide lifts all boats, right? So that's the goal, is that if I can help, say, Matt connect with someone who's looking to write a book, and he can connect me with someone who's interested in software development or whatever, like we both win. So we both look like we've got big, robust networks. That only enhances our personal positioning or our personal brand, and makes us of more value to others. So what's wrong with that?
I'd love for you to expand on that a little bit, just because I don't think everyone listening might have caught the nuance I did. But what I caught is you're basically saying that good networking is not just meeting a lot of people and waiting to ask them for things, right?
That's exactly what I'm saying. Yes, exactly. Good networking is going out and trying to figure out what can you give to people. That's good networking. So some people, maybe if you're younger, just out of school or things, maybe you feel I don't have that much. Well, you've got friends, you've got family, you've got people, like you can connect to people. You can offer them. One of the easiest ways to provide value is offer them intro into your network, just in general, right? So that's a great way to get people in and provide value. Say, well, I know these people, I work in this industry. If something ever comes up, I'd love to be able to refer you to these people where it might be of value to you, or you might be able to connect them with people. But again, you've got to be intentional about networking. That's the one thing people are not. And that's where it drives me crazy, because my dad always said, you get 100% of what you don't ask for. So if I'm not going in and saying, hey, Matt, I'm Kurt, I'm from Foundry. We do custom software development and design. We're always looking for new clients. I just wrote this book. I'm looking to get it in people's hands because I think it'll truly help them in their career or in their business. And then I also do speaking events. So if you ever hear about any speaking events, let me know. I'm always interested in that. What can I do for you? What are you looking for? And that script that I just went through, I talk about in the book, once you have that down and you can just keep repeating that over and over again, people appreciate when you just come right out and say, this is what I'm looking for and what can I get for you? Because then it gives them almost permission to say, oh, I can just tell you what I'm looking for. We don't have to, we don't have to dance around here. So it's, the goal is not to go out and just con people into giving you things. That's not networking.
Yeah, no, and I see it myself. You can usually tell, I meet a lot of people on any given day, and you can always tell who's kind of hasn't figured it out yet when the first words out of their mouth are, so who do you know that does this? Like, who do you know that you can introduce me to? I mean, I know plenty of people, but I don't even know who you are and what you do yet.
Yeah, right. I'm not introducing you to my network and making you like make me look bad because I don't know who you are. And so, yeah, exactly that. Like getting out right away. This is what I'm looking for. What are you looking for? Now, we don't have to talk about me anymore, right? You already know what I need. I don't have to sell. I don't have to explain, right? If you have questions about it, you can ask the questions. I don't have to pitch or do anything else, right? It's that quick thing of like, hey, we just met, whether it be virtual or in person. I give you my kind of, little elevator speech on who I am and what I'm looking for. What are you looking for? How can I get you what you need? And those are the people who remember you.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to jump back to something you mentioned earlier with we kind of briefly spoke about the resumes and how many times you've actually gotten a job from a resume.
Yeah.
So I know coming from a corporate background and networking not really being a part of the need for that job, right? Because all I had to do was show up, handle what was given to me, and then go home when I was lucky enough to go home. But I think a lot of people fear networking.
Yeah.
Right. They fear the someone not reciprocal or it not being a smooth interaction. Right. Yet statistically, you're getting rejected 100 times more with every job application you submit on Indeed.
Yep. Exactly. Because you have a personal, like, I know people get triggered by the word personal brand. So in the book, I specifically change it to personal positioning. But you have a personal brand, whether you like it or not. Either you own it or somebody else does, right? So to your point, if I'm interacting and meeting with these people, if I'm not presenting myself in a way that I want people to present and remember me, I'm leaving it up to them. I'm leaving it up to them to make those assumptions. So yeah, to your point, it can be a little scary, right? So there's a couple of pieces of advice that I give people specifically around it. One is always bring a buddy when you're networking, especially if you're in person. Never go alone, right? Always have somebody with you. Try to show up early, case the place, right? Connect with people who are on LinkedIn or other places ahead of the event if you can. You want to kind of show up before you need to show up in a way. And from there, it make it a little easier doing that. And to the other point that you had mentioned about not, you kind of had alluded to a little bit about not having a lot of time for it as well. That's where I talk about systems will save you when it comes to having the time to do the networking that you need to do. So, yeah, I know so many people that I helped. They worked at a place for 30 years and then they just got laid off. And they have no network, and the people at their old company are not returning their emails, right? Because once you kind of leave those big corporations, you're kind of dead to them, right? And not because you're a bad person, but those people have to go back to, focusing on what's their priority, right? Which is that. Yeah, exactly. Their job. And then that internal network, right? Because there's a lot of emotional labor that goes into the internal networking that you need to do in a larger company, right? And a lot of emotional labor that goes along with that. So when you leave, you usually don't have a ton of extra space for that. And I totally get that. But again, like a person who much smarter than me said a long time ago, your network is your net worth, right? So if you're not saving, if you're not investing, and you think that someday you're going to need an emergency fund or something, but you're not putting the money away for it, well, don't be surprised when it's not there. So if you're not trying to make these small investments over time and connect with people in the spaces that you want to be more networked in, then that's why we have insurance. Networking, it's like an insurance policy.
Yeah. And I'd love to spend just another second with from your point of view, friends and network associates.
Yeah.
What's the difference? Because you said
well,
kind of friends.
Yeah. Well, friends help you move, right? Colleagues.
If they're good friends.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Right. Well, yeah, exactly. You get a lot of friends with pickup trucks. That's what I look for. No, but there's colleagues, right? There's professional colleagues, professional peers, and then there's friends. There's people that you have a relationship with. They know that you have kids and a dog and, and a trampoline and whatever else, right? Like they know those things about you, but those are the people that you're there you're kind of attached to them in a way of like, we're trying to lift each other up intentionally as part of our careers. We have more intentional conversations that are around what are you looking to do? What am I looking to do? Right. And we stay in contact over time as we grow as professionals, because when I first meet that person, they might not have as much to offer as I might have in the beginning. But in 5 years, if we stay connected, excuse me, maybe there is, right? There's people I did career coaching out of school 10 years ago who have hired my company 10 years later because they're at a place, they know what it is, they know what it does, they landed in a spot, they told their boss, this is the place that I trust to get work done. It's been great. And then that same person, I remember a few years later, got laid off, and then I ended up hiring them for my company. So this isn't a person that I'm taking Disney vacations with. Do you know what I mean? Like this is a person that I'm staying in contact with. What are you up to now? What are you looking for now? This is what I'm up to now. This is what I'm looking for now. And as we kind of keep going along, looking for opportunities to bring value to each other. So that's why you've got that network, and it's a long-term investment. It is not a one-time event. It is a long-term thing. Now, don't get me wrong. There's people I've met and networked with where I'm like, after 6 months or so, I'm like, yeah, there's not much there that we're going to be able to help each other with. And that's fine. So you don't, just because you network with people does not mean handcuffs go on and you're committed to being with them, right? You've got to find people who have like minds and same kind of perspective. So.
Yeah, and that's not to say that you just cut people out, they stay on your mailing list or whatever it might be.
Sure.
You never know what could come,
exactly.
But it's not someone you're going to invest 30 minutes every quarter sitting down with.
Exactly, right, exactly. So I've got, to your point, that 30 minutes every quarter, that's something I try to do regularly, but I will pay attention to it, that if these last 2 meetings we had, it was kind of a dud, then, you know what, let's just check in like mid-year next year. What's wrong with that? These aren't friends. We are professional colleagues, right? We're associates, as if we were in Victorian England, right? This is my associate. So it's okay to have people in your life and your career that are part of your professional network that, like I said, they're not watching your dog. Like that's not the point.
There is so many kind of layers there, but I think it all boils down to boundaries, right?
Yeah, for sure.
You don't owe anyone anything. So if it's not working for you, it's perfectly okay to say, hey, can we meet next month? No, for what? There's no need.
And vice versa, right? So I've definitely had people say, you know what, I'm I know you're kind of focused on this industry, Kurt, and but I'm going off to be a yogi in Playa de Karma. Like, I'm like, great, cool. Let me know if that ever changed. I don't have a lot there. So it goes both ways. right? But that's why we're always, as humans, we grow. That's our goal. And so in my opinion and in my experience, I learned so much more from other people's experiences than I have from books or academia. Not to say I'm a voracious reader. I read a ton, but man, I love to connect with those authors and learn about what the behind the scenes was, what was the things, or go and see them speak, right? Or watch them on a YouTube channel or something. That's when I really get a lot of juice. And so that's why I encourage a lot of business owners, especially the work you do, Matt. If you've got something to say, put it out there, like write a book, write articles, share what you know. You never know, that network might just show up. You don't even have to go looking for it.
Right. No one knows what's going on in your head. You could be the smartest person in the room, in the world, but if you're keeping it to yourself and you're never sharing any of what you know or can do or the value you might be able to bring, then of course you're going to get nothing.
Yeah. Yep. And don't be surprised if people make up their own lore about you over time. Your employees, your network, because you have a network, even if it's not intentional, right? And other competitors and all these other people, they will tell themselves stories about who you are and what you're about. So you could get ahead of that.
Right. If you don't write your story, somebody else will. You said something similar to that earlier.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. And people do it all the time. I do it, you do it. I mean, we all do it, And so we all have that ability to take control of that perception. And again, like I said, I do not mean becoming some TikTok influencer type of thing. Like, there's no reason to jump. People do that all the time. They're like, what? No, I don't want to be, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, why does it have to be so extreme? Why does it have to go from 0 to 11? Like, can you just turn it up to 2? Like maybe post on LinkedIn like once a month. Would that kill you?
Quite honestly, like those TikTok influencers and they're not networking. It's
no.
You know nothing about who they are, what value they bring. It's more of a look. Hey, look at me. And
it is.
I think we all have enough. Hey, look at me people in our worlds.
Yes, exactly. And that's my point, Matt, is that people will very quickly associate, because again, I get it. I have insecurities, right? I have demons that come at night and tell me how I'm not as good as I think I am, or whatever, just like everybody else does. And so, but I get it. I also am a competitive person as well. But the thing is that nobody is coming to save you. So you can do this on your own, or you can just throw rocks at other people and then sit there and slowly become more and more, just feeling gross about yourself, unless you take control of these things. And again, like I said, I am not suggesting that you spend tons and tons of time doing it, because I get feedback from people. They're like, I've got kids, I can't do this networking stuff like you're talking about. I'm like, yes, you can. You just are not prioritizing it. I know you're sitting there at night watching, Netflix for 3 hours. Take 15 minutes out of that and post something to LinkedIn about what happened to your day and what you're excited about, or to wherever, and share it with people, or connect with some other people that are in your industry. Like, you can do that 15 minutes a day. You're just choosing not to do it.
And, or even better, connect with people that are in industries you're interested in, right? Well, one of the mistakes that I made was when I first started doing LinkedIn, when I knew I wanted to leave my corporate job, was the only people I was reaching out to and trying to connect to were people that were in the same industry. And really, you know what that did to help my case when I wanted to leave the industry? Absolutely nothing.
No. Right. Well, that's again, you have no idea how many amazing individuals you're missing out on working with out there. And getting the chance to networking is like getting a chance to work with them a little bit, which is great. That's one of the things that I enjoy. Like I said, I've learned a lot from my coworkers over the years. And now that I'm a business owner, right? Like I don't necessarily have peers like I used to when I was more of an employee. And so my network has become really valuable for having a group of people that I trust to say, what do you think about this? Or what do you think about that? And also a lot of people that don't look like me, right? People that are non-white, more women-founded organizations. My network has allowed me to expand my network past staring in the mirror at more old white guys, which is a ton of us in business, and it's great. Don't get me wrong, nothing against it, but being able to expand my network is just really opened my eyes to a lot of opportunity that I didn't know existed. So that's been really powerful as part of that networking.
I love it. I have one question. Maybe we'll make it the final question, but how do you handle quote unquote bad introductions? So I like to believe in networking. There's nothing really inherently bad about something. I've met with plenty of people that I didn't see how we would ever be able to help each other. Yeah. And sometimes that led to an introduction and there was value there.
Yep. But
on the other side, there's also sometimes a flat out like networking where you're like, I have no idea why we're ever talking. So how do you approach those types of situations?
Yeah, well, that's good, Matt. So one of the first expectations I try to set with people is I don't like the double blind intros. So I like for people to ask me, would you like an intro to this person? Here's a link to their LinkedIn or some other online presence of theirs, so I can get an idea of who this is, right? So number one, there's that, right? Asking people not to blindly introduce you. Now, again, I have some colleagues that I've worked with in some capacity for 20 years. I tell them like, it's fine. Just if you think they're great, I trust you, and so I don't make everybody do that, but people that, I mostly just have a professional relationship with, I ask them to make sure they ask me ahead of time. So that's one way, that's one filter that I deal with it there. But then, like I said, the other way I deal with it is that I'm very clear on what value I am trying to offer people, right? I'm not trying to offer them access to, everything about me, right? Like these are the things, like, right? I have a business that does software development and design. Can that help you in any way or help people that I do speaking events. I do a podcast. I have this book. Any of those things of interest to you, my network, right? If none of that stuff seems to hit as something that they're interested in, like if they're just like, well, no, I'm really looking for, hairdressers between the ages of 24 and 34 in the northeastern part of the country. I'm like, I'm not a good help. If I ever run into that, I will let you know. And then usually I can just stop it right there. Like, hey, I'm sorry. I can't be of help to you. I don't have the network that you're looking for. But if I ever do, I definitely keep you in mind. I put a note here in my spreadsheet that says what you're looking for, and I'll let you know. So there's ways to graciously let people down, Matt. But like I said, the first things first is that telling people like, hey, I would love introductions to your network, but please give me a heads up on who this person is before you do it. And that's been really valuable.
Great. I can just tell already there's a ton of valuable information in the little book of networking. So for anyone who's been listening, who's like, yes, I know I have to do more of this, or they're just thinking of starting to dip their foot in their toe in the water. Kurt, where can people find out more about you, buying your book, working with you in your company, any and all of the above?
Yeah, I appreciate it. So I'm most active on LinkedIn. I talked about LinkedIn a lot on here. So you can just look me up, Kurt Schmidt. Be happy to connect with people. It's part of what I do. But if you just go to Amazon and search for the Little Book of Networking and make sure it's professional networking, not like computer Ethernet networking. It's called the Little Book of Networking. It's available on Amazon, on Kindle, or paperback as well. And it's a quick read. Like I said, couple hours. It's more of a handbook. It's got great reviews. I'm super proud of what it's doing and then how it's actually helping people. I have so many people that have sent me pictures of their kids reading it. Like, and when I say kids, I mean, teenagers that they're giving them to. And it's just it just means so much to me because this isn't the type of thing they teach you in school, and it's so important to your success as a professional. So yeah, find me on LinkedIn and check out the Little Book of Networking. And thank you so much, Matt, for the opportunity. I'm a big fan of your work and the things you do and the type of work you do. It's so valuable to people. So thank you so much for the opportunity.
No, it is my pleasure. And I'm going to steal an extra 60 seconds here real quick. I've got to point out something you just said about teenagers. I wish I knew then what I knew now. Because even in the world of going to school, get internships, that is not strictly based on your educational body of work. You may not be the top valedictorian in the class, but because you met the right people, you will have an opportunity to maybe attend that school you want to, get that internship you want to, get the work on campus job that 100 other students applied for. So it's never too early to start networking and letting people know who you are and what value you bring.
No, I mean, I remember growing up. I remember there was such a big thing with parents saying, why don't you teach kids how to balance a checkbook or things like that in school, these life skills, And I talk about that in the book is how, nobody talked about the importance of networking in school or brought it up even at all. And I believe it's such a crime because it is your network. It is your network can save people, right? Think about people who are looking for donors. Be the match. And like, again, I'm talking in extremes, obviously, right? And that's that, based on their network, based on their reach, that can help them get the donors that they need quicker. Just imagine if it's just poor you out in middle of the Midwest, like myself, looking for my next gig, right? Well, how much power can that have if you just put some time into it? So, this book, it's great for people coming out of high school, college, but also, like I said, if you're a 45-year-old person that just got laid off from working at a place for the last 20 years, this is a great opportunity for you to learn on how the world has changed in terms of networking.
Incredible. I know we went off on a sidebar, so we went a little overtime, but I think it was just that important that we covered that. So for everyone listening, watching, however you're tuning in, definitely head over to Amazon, look for Kurt's book, The Little Book of Networking. There's something anyone of any skill level, I'm sure, can learn in there. If you took anything away from this conversation, we could all always network a little better. So why not take some advice from someone who's done it masterfully? Kurt, we appreciate you being here on the show with us.
Thank you.
We hope all of our listeners go buy your book, get something that they can put into play in their own life. And we're looking forward to staying in touch with you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Matt. I really appreciate the time.
It has been my pleasure. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll catch you on the next episode of the Pen Podcast. Have a great day.